The cameras were rolling, the crowd was restless, and the atmosphere inside the packed congressional hall crackled with tension. On one side stood Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, fiery, articulate, and fiercely protective of her platform. On the other stood Senator John Kennedy, never one to back down, armed with his trademark mix of wit and sharp-tongued candor. Nobody expected the clash that followed to end the way it did. It began with the single command-appointed jab from Kennedy during a heated policy discussion. His words, though framed as humor, cut deep into X's argument. The audience murmured, some chuckling, others gasping. X's face hardened. In a swift move, she turned to the security stationed nearby and ordered, "Remove him." The room fell into stunned silence. Removing a sitting senator from a public forum? That was unheard of. The guards hesitated, unsure if they should comply. Kennedy, however, didn't flinch. Instead, he slowly stood, adjusted his glasses, and looked straight at Ack with a calm yet piercing gaze. The audience expected him to fight back with another quip, or perhaps storm out in anger. But what Kennedy did next left everyone speechless. He reached into his pocket and not for papers, not for notes but for a worn, folded photograph. It was his father, a man who had worked his whole life in the Louisiana oil fields, standing beside Kennedy as a boy. Kennedy held it up, his voice steady but filled with raw emotion. "You can ask security to throw me out, Congresswoman," he said, "but you can't throw out the truth. My father used to say, 'Son, if you've got something worth fighting for, don't let anyone shove you out the door.' And that's why I'm here. Not for me, for the people who can't be in this room." The crowd hushed. The guards froze in place. X's expression faltered, and not from defeat, but from the weight of the moment. Kennedy continued, weaving a story about his father's struggles, his neighbors in Louisiana, and the countless Americans who worked tirelessly yet felt unheard. He didn't point fingers or hurl insults. Instead, he spoke with the vulnerability rarely seen in politics, peeling back the layers of partisanship to reveal the beating heart of service and sacrifice. Even Ek, who had been so resolute, shifted in her chair. She was young, ambitious, and deeply passionate, but in that moment, Kennedy's story reminded her and everyone watching it that beyond politics were people, real people with real lives. When he finished, Kennedy didn't wait for applause. He simply placed the photo back in his pocket, gave a small nod, and sat down. The room erupted not in boos or laughter, but in applause. Even some of X's supporters stood, clapping, not for a side, but for the courage to speak from the heart. Ek leaned into her mic, her tone softer than before. "Senator," she said carefully, "we may disagree on almost everything, but I can't deny the sincerity of what you just shared. Maybe instead of trying to silence each other, we should start listening." That shift in tone changed the trajectory of the evening. What was supposed to be another viral shouting match became something far more meaningful. The two leaders didn't leave as friends, but they left with a newfound respect and an audience inspired by the idea that even in the most divided spaces, moments of humanity could shine through. The next morning, clips of the exchange spread like wildfire. But what resonated most wasn't the order to remove Kennedy, it was his choice to stay, to speak with heart rather than venom. For many watching across the nation, it was a reminder that strength isn't always found in shouting the loudest, but in daring to be vulnerable, honest, and unshaken in the face of opposition. And that, more than anything, left the crowd and the country with a message they wouldn't soon forget. Disagreement doesn't have to mean destruction. Sometimes, it can lead to understanding.